There are words so ancient, so powerful, that when spoken with full awareness, they don't just echo into the air, they reshape the very fabric of reality. Helena Blavatsky, the enigmatic founder of modern Theosophy, believed that sound is not merely vibration, it is force, it is will, it is creation itself. In her teachings, scattered across dusty volumes and cryptic journals, she hinted at a hidden truth long forgotten by modern minds, that speech, when aligned with higher consciousness, becomes a tool of manifestation, not metaphorically, literally. According to Blavatsky, the sages of old knew this. They guarded these sounds, not because they were dangerous, but because they were sacred. And perhaps the most powerful among them was not a complicated phrase or obscure incantation. It was one word. A word so simple you might overlook it, but once spoken with intent, it begins to pull unseen threads in the spiritual realm, shifting energy, realigning possibilities, and altering the course of what we call reality. She did not invent it, she rediscovered it. Preserved in Eastern philosophies and ancient mystery schools, this word was always meant to be remembered, not discovered. And when uttered aloud, it awakens something deep within, the memory of who we truly are. But before we reveal the word, you must understand what lies beneath it. This is not a trick. This is not viral magic. This is the blueprint of spiritual physics. And once you hear it, you will never see your life, or your reality, the same way again. Blavatsky often wrote in riddles, layering meanings to ensure only the seeker, truly ready, would grasp her message. She spoke of a language of the gods, not as a metaphor, but as an actual vibratory code that harmonized human thought with cosmic will. In her cornerstone work, The Secret Doctrine, she stated, "Sound and rhythm are the ladder by which the soul climbs to meet its divine origin." According to her, ancient mantras weren't prayers to plead for change. They were instruments to command reality through alignment with universal law. But how does this work? Imagine the universe not as a collection of objects, but as a living ocean of vibration. Every thought you have, every word you speak, sends ripples through this ocean. Most people live unaware of this. They speak unconsciously, react emotionally, and wonder why their lives feel chaotic. But the mystic, the conscious being, understands that words are not descriptions. They are blueprints. Each syllable has weight. Each tone carries direction. When used with clarity and emotional charge, words don't just describe reality, they rewrite it. Blavatsky studied ancient Sanskrit, Chaldean, and Egyptian texts that referenced sacred sounds as living beings. These weren't just chants, they were keys, and the most potent among them. The one word she returned to again and again across continents and languages was a word that embodies will, spirit, and manifestation. Aum, not Om, as it's casually uttered, but Aum. Each syllable a cosmic principle. Spoken properly, it is said to align the speaker with the creative pulse of the universe itself. Blavatsky insisted that Aum was not a symbol of belief, it was a formula of activation. The A represents the beginning, creation, the waking state. The U symbolizes continuity, preservation, and the dreaming state. The M signifies dissolution, transformation, and the deep sleep of unmanifest potential. Together, these three sounds encompass the entire cycle of reality: birth, life, and death, not just in the outer world, but within us. When pronounced slowly, consciously, with focused intent, the vibration of Aum doesn't merely reverberate in the throat, it expands in the subtle body. It begins to clear psychic debris, it sharpens the mind, it stills the breath, and most importantly, it opens the gates of perception. Blavatsky warned that speaking it without understanding was like lighting fire near dry grass. The word is a flame, she wrote, and the mind is the fuel. Which is why, before uttering it, one must prepare, not physically, spiritually, with intention, silence, and surrender. The key is not to control reality, but to become aligned with the higher flow that already knows your path. Aum is not magic, it is resonance. You are not casting a spell, you are remembering one. She documented stories of yogis who could enter deep trance simply through sustained chanting of AUM. But she also warned, the sound will begin to show you what you've forgotten. It brings up clarity, but also resistance. If you're not ready to see your truth, it may feel uncomfortable. That's the cost of power. But if you lean in just beyond the edge of fear, AUM becomes a chisel in the hands of your soul. Blavatsky also emphasized that AUM was not meant to be whispered as a relaxation technique. It was a sacred command, an invitation to the divine. When intoned properly, with full breath and presence, it awakens layers of consciousness that most people never access in their entire lives. It vibrates through the nervous system like a tuning fork, dissolving anxiety, sharpening intuition, and revealing what she called the hidden self. This hidden self is not your personality. It is not your trauma. It is not your thoughts. It is the silent observer. The one who existed before your name, before your story, before your body even had form. By speaking AUM, you are calling this hidden self forward. And it listens. But it will not arrive like lightning. It arrives in silence, in synchronicities, in the reordering of your inner landscape. You'll begin to see patterns that no longer serve you fall away. You'll attract experiences that feel curiously aligned, as if the universe is responding to your voice directly. Because it is. Blavatsky saw this not as a belief system, but as metaphysical law. As the word vibrates, she wrote, so vibrates the world. She claimed that the sages of Atlantis, Egypt, and India all knew this truth. They didn't pray to gods, they invoked aspects of themselves through sacred tones. Their temples weren't places of worship. They were acoustical chambers, built to amplify the power of vibration. And AUM was always central, not as dogma, but as design. One of Blavatsky's most profound claims was that every human soul carries an echo of the cosmic sound, not metaphorically, but as a literal frequency that pulses through our subtle anatomy. She referred to this as the note of the soul, and AUM, when properly engaged, brings us back into tune with it. Imagine your life as a symphony. Over time, dissonant notes enter, trauma, fear, limiting beliefs. These create chaos in the melody. AUM, when spoken with full awareness, begins to dissolve that chaos, not by fixing every external circumstance, but by correcting the internal rhythm. Your perception shifts. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable. What once seemed random begins to feel guided. But here's the secret Blavatsky rarely shared publicly. The word alone is not enough. The state you enter while speaking, it is the true activator. This means you must speak AUM not as a word, but as a vibration that emerges from the stillest part of your being. She described it as becoming the sound, where the boundary between speaker and vibration dissolves. In that moment, you're not saying Om, you are Om. It's here that reality bends, not because you've forced it, but because you've stepped out of resistance. You're no longer separate from the flow. You've returned to the place where thought, word, and energy converge. To reach this state, Blavatsky offered a simple but often misunderstood practice. First, silence. Sit quietly, free of distraction. Then, intention. Ask your inner self, not your mind, why you're speaking AUM. Is it for peace, for clarity, for truth? Then, inhale fully. As you exhale, begin the sound. The A, bright and open, should start deep in the chest. The U, round and smooth, should vibrate through the throat. The M, soft and humming, should buzz at the crown of the head. Then allow silence. That silence is not the absence of sound, it is the space where the real work begins. Blavatsky taught that what happens in the silence after the sound is more important than the sound itself. In that stillness, the universe responds, in subtle energy shifts, in strange feelings of peace, in the soft stirring of intuition. Some experience visions, others simply feel lighter, but all feel something. And as this practice deepens, so does your power, not over others, but over your own alignment. The chaos of the outer world begins to affect you less. Emotional turbulence settles faster. Opportunities feel guided, not grasped. Why? Because AUM is not just a sound, it is a reminder that you are never just a name, a body, a story. You are vibration, you are will, you are creator. But Blavatsky also issued a warning. The use of sacred sound is not a shortcut. It is a commitment. Once you begin, you will notice things start to shift, internally and externally, and not all of it will feel comfortable. This is the nature of awakening. Light reveals shadow, and AUM, she claimed, would stir what had been buried. You may find old emotions surfacing, relationships shifting, plans unraveling. But this is not chaos, it is calibration. The sound clears what is false, so that only what aligns may remain. Blavatsky called it the gentle earthquake of the soul. And while it may shake foundations, it only does so to reveal a stronger one underneath. Those who stuck with the practice reported profound changes. Synchronicities increased, mental clarity sharpened, dreams became vivid and symbolic. The line between imagination and intuition began to blur. One man wrote that after weeks of daily AUM meditation, he felt as if life was speaking to me in symbols. That's exactly what Blavatsky predicted. The universe, she said, does not speak English. It speaks vibration, and once you align with it, through sound, stillness, and surrender, you begin to hear its replies, not as words, but as unfolding realities. The transformation brought on by AUM is not limited to the spiritual seeker alone. According to Blavatsky, the sound carries a collective impact. When spoken from the heart, its vibration reaches far beyond the self. A single tone, uttered in truth, she wrote, becomes a call to every soul attuned to its frequency. That is why ancient initiates always practiced in groups. The resonance was magnified, not in volume, but in intention. Entire chambers were built to contain and amplify this shared vibration. These were not temples of worship. They were instruments of change. Modern seekers, however, often forget the communal power of sound. In a world obsessed with individuality, the sacred is often practiced in isolation. But Blavatsky challenged this. She envisioned a future where people would gather again, not to escape reality, but to recalibrate it, together, through sound, through shared will, through sacred breath. And she believed AUM would be the bridge. Imagine a world where families began the day not with complaint or silence, but with a single conscious vibration. Imagine classrooms humming in unison before the first lesson. Imagine cities, once filled with noise and confusion, pulsing with intentional sound. It may seem distant, but every spiritual revolution begins in the unseen, and if enough voices remember, reality begins to respond. Because energy doesn't argue, it listens, it aligns, it amplifies what is spoken with power and peace. So how do you begin? Blavatsky made this clear. You begin where you are. No temple required, no teacher needed, just silence, breath, and honesty. Speak AUM in the morning before the world fills you with noise. Speak it at night to clear the weight of the day. Speak it when you're afraid, when you're grateful. When you've forgotten who you are, let it remind you. Let it pull you back from the illusions of identity and fear, and never rush it. Let the sound roll slowly. Let it fill your space, your body, your awareness. If you speak it with a shallow heart, it will do little. But if you speak it as if your soul were listening, it will answer. Because it always has been. You were never separate from the divine, only distracted. And ultim is how you return. Some experience transformation instantly, others feel it gradually, like a tide returning. There is no timeline for truth, only trust. The key is not how many times you chant, but how deeply you mean it. That's the portal, not repetition, resonance. And slowly you'll notice reality shift. Not because you manipulated it, but because you remembered how to harmonize with it. You'll begin to see doors open, relationships evolve, inner noise fade. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Blavatsky taught that when the sound of AUM becomes part of your internal rhythm, The world outside bends not in submission, but in reflection. Your vibration begins to shape your circumstances, not the other way around. You don't fight the current, you become the current. You don't chase peace, you emanate it. This, she believed, was the true destiny of the human being. Not to dominate nature, but to align with it so completely that nature responds. And AUM is not the destination. It is the doorway. Through that doorway, you begin to experience synchronicities, not as lucky accidents, but as confirmations. Time seems to expand. Emotions settle faster. You begin to meet people who reflect where you're going, not where you've been. This is what Blavatsky called the magnetic echo of the word. Your life becomes the mirror of your sound. And if you stop chanting for a few days, you'll notice the difference. Not because something is wrong, but because the music has faded. That's the sign that your soul misses the song it was born to sing. That vibration is your compass. Follow it, and it will lead you not to comfort, but to clarity. Eventually, something shifts so deeply that words become optional. You begin to walk differently, breathe differently. Your presence becomes magnetic. People ask what changed. You may smile and say nothing, or you may say everything, because the truth is, AUM does not give you power. It reminds you that you are power, that you are sound, that you are will shaped by silence. Blavatsky foresaw a time when humanity would return to the sacred use of speech, not to deceive, not to distract, but to declare. She believed we would awaken to the truth that what we say becomes what we see, that words are wands and silence is spellwork. And when spoken from the soul, a single word can realign destiny. AUM is not just ancient, it is eternal. Every great teacher knew it. Every awakened soul has touched it. And now you have too. Not because you chanted, but because you listened. And in that listening, the real transformation begins. So say it, not for results, but for remembrance. Say it not to change reality, but to meet the version of you that never forgot how to shape it. The soul knows the tone. The body remembers the rhythm. All you need is stillness, a single breath, and the courage to say AUM. Then wait. Let the silence after the sound show you what the noise of the world never could. And if you're ready to live from that place, to move through life as a conscious frequency, not just a name, then say it again. Each time deeper, each time truer. Watch what happens, not outside, but within. That's where the bending begins. You may never look at sound the same way again. Because now you've touched something ancient, sacred, yours. Helena Blavatsky didn't leave behind a religion. She left a resonance. And in that resonance lives the memory of the divine power sleeping within you. All it takes to awaken it is a word. Not chanted from ego, but spoken from stillness. AUM. Not to command the universe, but to realign with it. Not to escape reality, but to re-enter it fully awake. Let this not be the end of your curiosity, but the beginning of your discipline. Speak with awareness, move with intention, and never forget your voice is not just a sound, it is the echo of eternity speaking through you. If this message stirred something within you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more esoteric wisdom, and share it with someone who's ready to remember. And tell us in the comments, what word, mantra, or phrase has helped you bend your own reality?